I love this movie. It's riveting. You don't know what's going to happen. It's exciting.
Award season is here. We're in the thick of it, and Blitz is one of the films we're definitely going to be discussing at some point down the road, I'm sure. The latest from Steve McQueen. You guys subscribe to us here at Breakfast All Day because we love award season. It's Alonso's favorite season, aside from pilot season and earthquake season.
They're all equally as fun.
Allergy season.
Fire. Yeah.
But yeah, so award season is here, and films like Blitz will definitely be a part of the conversation. So, Alonso, what is it about?
Your son did not arrive at his destination. You're responsible for his safety. Why can't you tell me? Where's my boy?
So yeah, this is the latest from Steve McQueen. He wrote and directed it, and it is a look at London during the Blitz when every night more bombs from the Nazis were falling, and the people of the city, had to be resilient and find places to hide and take shelter and deal with, the possibility of losing their homes. And a lot of people, sent their kids out to the countryside, and the idea of them being safe. We focus on one family. Rita, played by Saoirse Ronan, is a singer and currently working in a munitions factory. Her young son, George, played by newcomer Elliott Heffernan, who is amazing.
Yes.
This kid. He is mixed race. His father is from Grenada and has been deported by the British government, but she is nonetheless raising him in London and sends him out to the countryside with a lot of other kids to get away from the Blitz. But he at one point jumps the train and tries to make his way back to London and back to Rita. Meanwhile, she gets to sing on the BBC as they go and focus on factory workers around the country. But that moment becomes a way for her fellow workers to sort of make a plea to the government for safety measures and opening up the tube stations to give people more places to hide out. On his way back, George meets nice people. He meets terrible people. And there are a lot of challenges that both of them must face during this moment of historical crisis. If you are thinking, oh God, I don't know that I can bear a Steve McQueen movie about the bombing of London, this is not that Steve McQueen. He is not in the mode of like Hunger or 12 Years a Slave, where it's just sort of relentless brutality. This is more the small acts Steve McQueen, where humanity can shine through, but also there is oppression from official sources. And he combines those things together. There are some early reviews that sort of are accusing this movie of being like corny or something.
No.
And what I think they're missing is that McQueen is also kind of directly commenting on the kind of propaganda movies that the British government was making at this time to sort of like bolster the morale of the populace. Have you ever seen the movie Their Finest, which I'm a huge fan of, with Gemma Arterton? It's all about how those movies got made and what they were about. So this is, I think he's kind of making that movie, but centering women and people of color and talking about racism and anti-Semitism in a way that those films didn't, but very much acknowledging the truth of what was going on, in British society, in London in particular, during those early years of World War II being, breaking out in Europe before the U.S. has even entered into it. I love this movie. It's riveting. You don't know what's going to happen. It's exciting. It is moving. It is terrifying at times. The performances are great. Like I said, Elliott Heffernan, they found this kid in like a casting call, and he just holds his own, carries this movie to a great extent. Saoirse Ronan, another great performance from her on the heels of The Outrun. This is absolutely one of my favorite films of 24.
Yeah, I loved it too. And I don't know that it's corny, but there is a sentimentality here that's a different kind of tone from Steve McQueen. Like, he doesn't shy away from the horrors of this. I mean, this thing plunks you right down in the middle of fiery terror. It's hellish. Like, there's something that happens involving a fire hose that made both of us just jump in our seats. I mean, they just not shy away from how difficult it was to survive day to day, hour to hour in London at this point in time. But there's also like a kindness and a humanity here. and people striving to reach each other, and like a purity of love and connection, and unexpected kindness from strangers. As you mentioned, like not everyone is nice to this kid.
Yeah.
And that's maybe like the one little section that kind of feels like a Dickensian story wedged in, but then there are elements of that section that make sense later on. So you kind of need to plant the seeds for something he does later. So it makes sense narratively eventually. But in the doing of it, I'm like, oh, this is like cliche kind of Oliver Twist here.
I mean, a little, but it felt organic in the moment. And I think it says something very specific about how certain people responded to this crisis as it was going on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, in a way that's very specific to this moment. So yeah, no, I think it all works, and you know, there's a deep bench of really cool character actors: Kathy Burke, Stephen Graham, Paul Weller.
Paul Weller is a crucial figure here, and a sweet, benevolent presence from the Jam. Paul Weller
Style Council.
is Saoirse Ronan's dad in this movie. So music's very important here, as it is in a lot of Steve McQueen movies, as it was in the whole Small Axe series. There's one moment that is just like transcendent of like dance, like a flashback to a dance club, and it brings back all that emotion of like the Lovers Rock section of Small Axe, where it's just like there's this humanity and this connection and just a fervor. Like it's so exciting, so intimate, so sexy, so free, and it's like a nice little respite in the middle of just absolute terror otherwise.
And a very kind of glossy nightclub number that turns on a dime into something horrific.
Yeah, Yorick Lassou is the cinematographer here. And so, so the use of color, the use of lighting, the use of shadow. And so when something really glossy like that happens, it's like otherworldly and a beautiful respite compared to everything else. The kid is great because he's by himself a lot, or he's opposite other kids, and so he has to show street smart quality, but also an innocence. You know, he was not. He's had to be tough because kids have bullied him because he's mixed race in a very white part of London, but he's got to also show like toughness, but also sweetness, and he's got all of that. Saoirse Ronan is amazing because we have to see various versions of her as we see the war take its toll on her. Costume design, Jacqueline Duran costume design. I love the Hans Zimmer score. We got to talk about the score.
Yes,
because I love where it comes from, because you'll hear like the chug of the train, and like that will then become the music, or you'll hear like the thunk of the machinery where where the women are making the bombs, and like that becomes the music. This is not a musical, but there's like a rhythm that emerges from the day-to-day life that is kind of enrapturing. I thought was really cool.
Yeah, no, this is, I mean, like 10s across the board. All the departments are really killing it here. Yorick Lassou is, you know, kind of not a name that I have the tip of my tongue, but like he needs to be. This is the guy, he shot Greta Gerwig's Little Women. He shot Luca Guadagnino's I Am Love.
Which is gorgeous, exquisitely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, like that is a movie that completely enraptures you. And I think I always point to that movie as a way to like, films can go beyond sight and sound. Like that movie gives you taste and touch. You know, and that's so much of that is coming in what Lassou is doing. And so, the contrasts here between the sort of the glimmering beauty of certain moments and then the just harsh realities of what's going on during the Blitz. This is a movie that is going to be going to Apple Plus really quickly, but I urge you to see it in a theater, to look at it, to listen to it, to be enveloped by it in a way that you just don't get in streaming, no matter how big your screen is. This really is an achievement that demands to be seen in a theater if you can, if it's near you, if you are going out to theaters, by all means check this one out.
For sure. It looks like a very old-fashioned kind of World War II drama, but through Steve McQueen's particular lens, his artistry. And
very much so.
You know from the very first second that you are in the hands of an artist here. So I'm going to say like a 9.5.
Yeah, I'm a 9.4 totally.
Yeah.
It again, like this is absolutely going to be in the year-end conversation, and I really hope that people discovered on the screen. I think a lot of Apple movies kind of fall by the wayside in whatever kind of theatrical they get, you know, and so I hope this one fares better than some of its predecessors that this company is putting out. I'm glad they gave him the budget he needed to make this movie, and I hope people see it.